Alright guys, Tatcrobe back again today. Hope you're enjoying your Sunday so far, and today we're going to talk about Rostermania once again. Things have certainly calmed down over the last few days, but things are still very uncertain behind the scenes. Tomorrow is a Monday, it's September the 14th, officially the start of the 2021 CDL season, when rosters can start to get confirmed. I would not be surprised if some of these teams like Chicago and Atlanta, which we've seemed to have known their roster for a while now, announce very soon indeed. A couple of you guys have been asking about exactly when the deadline could be for these rosters to be announced. There's nothing I believe that's been made public on this, but I imagine within a month or so we'll probably have the majority of these announcements, and maybe up until when the new game is released, until when the actual deadline is. But I imagine pretty much everything will be set in stone within the next couple of weeks, and then announcements will be coming out really by, well, this time next month. I imagine we'll have pretty much everything set in stone and be able to talk about exactly where these rosters could potentially line up in terms of power rankings for next season, and we'll do that as we go along the next few weeks. Like, if you guys enjoy the video, subscribe if you are new. As always, I would greatly appreciate it. Today we're going to talk about the New York Subliners. Clayster, Mac and Zuma rumoured to be the team of three over there. Who though is going to be the fourth? We talked about Attach, him probably going to the Minnesota Rocket, as we will look at here in a second. That leaves a spot open for the fourth player. To my understanding, it's between one of two players, and you may be intrigued to find out especially the second of the two. Let's hop into things. TJ says this yesterday: businessman window business. Slack come back in reply, likewise bro just jobless. TJ says same. He since deleted this one. I'm pretty sure TJ is going to be on OGLA alongside Slasher, Kenny, TJ of course as we said, and then some sort of fourth. Draza is signed. I imagine they plan him to be a substitute, and Gunless we rumoured, we talked about yesterday the potential of maybe he left Seattle given some of the tweets we were seeing from those guys over there, but I imagine TJ is still set in stone. This came out as well when we're going to talk about this Paris team. Pred, a real top amateur player over in the Australian region, wishing Zed a happy birthday. The rumoured roster here is Pred, Zed, Dens potentially, and Hydra, a top amateur from the European region, the French region of course especially, and we're going to talk about Hydra in a couple of minutes time here as well, so setting the scene nicely for this one. This came out yesterday as well, so Clayster replying to this tweet here from Draft Buff saying yes, definitely a great addition to New York. What a horse, beast, animal, freak of nature, absolute force on the map. And Matt comes back with thanks 3 times legend goat, kind of implying that there's something going on in between Clayster and Mac, and maybe they will be on the Subliners together as we rumoured about a week or so ago. This is the tweet I did at the time. Clayster is set to join the Subliners with Zuma, Mac +1. Attach may not remain on the roster, and well, this is what it looks like. So Attach supposedly going to the Minnesota Rocket alongside Accuracy, formerly also of the Subliners, joined potentially by Priester and Major Maniac from the Atlanta FaZe squad. That's that rumoured team right now. Clayster then looks like he's going to be coming into this team. It certainly makes sense, teaming with Zuma as he's had good success in the past. The real question as to why Attach isn't here, right? Has he decided to go with Accuracy, or have the Subliners decided they no longer want his services on the squad? Clayster, of course, with Mac on the team, kind of a young talent that he wants to develop, as he has done in previous years. And Clay's probably looking at this team of three and thinking, who could I get as a fourth, which also is like a relatively young talent, which I can potentially mould to be a better player than they already are in the Call of Duty League. And well, Clayster's done this over the last couple of years. That's what's made him a world champion, right? Back to back now, taking guys that haven't done too much in the past, or very talented players, but haven't done too much in Call of Duty, and helping mould those players to be a better force than they ever were in Call of Duty history. So Clay's probably looking at a fourth and thinking, well, I played with Zuma for a long time. Mac, obviously an up-and-coming young talent. Maybe we want to do a similar thing and get a similar player into this squad, depending on how much pedigree exactly these players have. So let's look at some options here. These are the rumours that we just talked about a second ago. So Priest, Attach, Maniac, and Accuracy on the rocker is the rumour. And then in New York Subliners rumours, you can see Zuma, Mac, potentially Fero, triple question mark here from Crone, and Clayster. So this is the potential rumour right now. Fero seems the most likely option, but there is another one on the table. So Fero, of course, on the Florida Mutineers last season. He has had his contract extended by the Florida Mutineers, which is interesting. But then again, a number of these players have had their contracts extended. Clayster, for example, had it extended by the Dallas Empire, but of course he's going to be moving elsewhere. But if that is the case, and the organizations have decided to extend the contract, that means that whatever they were paying them in the previous season has to then be matched by an organization that potentially is buying that now extended contract off of that team. So does Subliners want to go out of their way for Fero here, given he did come in straight as a starter from like not even being in the league a couple of months into the season? Obviously was a revolutionary player for that team. I can't well speak his praises highly enough, to be honest, and what Fero could do with the SMG, with the flex roll in hand, with the sniper in hand as well. That's another key point really from Fero. what he brings to the table in terms of the search and destroy sniping capabilities. And not a lot of, well, some teams obviously have great snipers, but with Fero on your team, you don't have to worry about that at all. You don't have to worry about Clayster pulling out the sniper, and we've seen, well, that doesn't always end particularly well, as we've seen in Call of Duty past. So Fero certainly seems like a very serviceable and a very likely option if Subliners want to get him, and Fero clearly does seem to want to go, as we'll look at in a second. We looked at his New York Subliners emblem or whatever that he put in his clan tag. He clearly wants to play with Clayster, as he's talked about quite a bit, and I imagine Clayster probably wants to play with him, given the situation is right now. Mac and Fero have also played in the past, as we'll look at in a second. It definitely is a move that makes a lot of sense, and I don't think that Clayster necessarily wants to play with like so many amateur players. Like, okay, you bring in Mac, of course, he's had one season now. Fero, of course, has won championships in the past. He won the Stage 2 playoffs with Team Caliber back in World War II, and has been a great player ever since, and has won multiple championships last year as well. And maybe Clay thinks going into a 4v4 title, I don't necessarily need guys that have like never played Call of Duty at this level before. Maybe like Mac and Fero are perfect targets in the fact that they've won events, yes, in the online era for Mac, in that New York Subliners win that they had at their own home series, and Fero, of course, has won an event on LAN and online as well this last season on the Mutineers. Maybe that's kind of the perfect combination that Clayster feels like. These guys are obviously incredibly talented, but he can get even more performance out of these guys, and you kind of know what you're going to get out of Zoomer at this point. So that may be Clayster's thought process here, because I imagine he's kind of in charge of this team, I suppose, in the direction he wants to run with it. And we see a couple of tweets here from Fero. So, and Awakening, of course, former teammate on the Florida Mutineers, saying, "Love you too, brother. You're for sure one of my favorite teammates. I'll keep you in the loop with what's going on, and we will see whether they end up teaming together next season." And then we get this one, only if you make the right decision from Awakening, kind of saying to Fero, look, it's on your plate right now whether you want to stay with the Florida Mutineers with Skies and Awakening, which I imagine is staying on that team. I mean, Skies, Awakening, and Fero is a very, very nice core three, but maybe Fero, like if I was Fero, I'd probably prefer to go to Clayster's team, right? Because Clayster is a back-to-back Call of Duty world champion right now, has done it in the past with a number of different players. I would like relish the opportunity to play with him if it's possible, if the organization wants to actually sell that contract, because it's possible, I imagine, that Florida probably want to keep Fero, right? Like, what a great asset he was for them this entire season long once they got him into the team. So definitely if I'm Florida, I want to keep him, but maybe New York is saying like, we'll do XYZ to get him on the team. Who knows exactly right now, but that definitely is a bit of a conflict between New York and the Florida Mutineers, and who knows whether there are some other options on the table as we will look at. This came out from Fero a while ago as well, back to Clayster. You ever heard of the saying, third time is the charm, saying, me this last 2 years, I've won the world championships, there's Clayster, but at what cost? And Fero thinks they can go back to back with this one. So to look at the Fero situation a little bit closer before we go on to the potential alternative, we get this discussion on Reddit here. On his stream today, he said he has legit no clue where he is going. It really isn't up to him at this point, since Florida extended his contract, but are looking to sell him, kind of like what New York are looking to do with Attach over to that Minnesota Rocker squad that we just talked about. He said he would like to play for New York, though, especially since it is close to him. And as we're looking in a second, Mac and Fero are boys and have teamed before in the past. So it looks like Fero definitely wants to go to New York, and Florida look like they're willing to sell his contract, but maybe they can't necessarily come to an agreement. And well, it seems like the situation as it is right now is certainly very uncertain. This is from the early Modern Warfare season, just before Fero actually came into the Florida Mutineers team. You can see Mac and Fero teaming here in these earlier matches. They won a couple of them, came second in one of them. So yeah, definitely these guys have played before, know each other, probably want to team together again. So it definitely seems like a perfect move for Fero. However, for various reasons, it may not work out, right? The organizational contract stuff may get in the way, and therefore Subliners are certainly considering their other options, right? If Fero can't be a thing, who do we get instead? And that player, to my understanding right now, is going to be Hydra, one of the most promising talents in the European amateur region. There's a lot of great talented amateur players, of course, over the European, the APAC, of course, and North American region, without a doubt. But Hydra definitely one of the most promising. And Clayster did this tweet a few days ago, which pretty much turned the scene on its head to some degree. I've heard a number of teams now are pretty interested in Hydra, largely I imagine as a result of this tweet from Clay. But what he said was, another pro asked me who I thought was the best am right now, and I said Hydra. They didn't even know who I was talking about. People don't have much talent. Heard he doesn't speak much English, unfortunately. This was only a few days ago, and Daryl, the coach over at the Train Hard Esports team that Hydra was on last season, has kind of been helping him with his English, which is really, really cool to see. But as Daryl says, his English is really good, and myself and him have been carrying out extensive, credible lessons and have done throughout the year, he will be ready for this year with regards to it. So we heard Paris certainly want to get Hydra in. It makes a lot of sense, right? Like young French talent, incredibly, well, impressive player if you guys have watched him play in the amateur side this season. Definitely makes sense as a player to be building around for Paris, not only for this year, but also for the future, right? Like this is a guy who could carry your team for the next 5-6 years. However, if Hydra was to get the opportunity to play alongside Clayster, a back-to-back world champion, and Clayster was like, yo, damn, we don't really have a great fourth. Like, what if I bring this Hydra guy in who, like, hasn't really been molded at all as a player, but is incredibly talented, and Clayster clearly recognizes that here with this tweet, bring him in, and I can then mold him into the next, like, Simp or Abizi or whatever, and you've got Mac on the team who's already played with Zuma for a little bit. Maybe he doesn't need so much coaching and direction, and if Fero was to come in, then, you know, obviously he's played a number of years in the past. Maybe I don't necessarily have to do that, and maybe that's not going to get the best out of the players, right? Maybe we know what Fero's kind of peak performance is, we know what Mac's peak performance is, but maybe Hydra is somewhat of an unknown quantity, right? Like he could be up there potentially in Clayster's mind with the likes of Simp and Abizi, and Clayster might want to create that potential next dominant force in Call of Duty history. So who knows, right? But Clayster's certainly looking at this option, and as we look at this tweet here, Hydra then comes back in reply, appreciate it, Goat, and Clayster says, World Championship in your future, question mark, eyes emoji, and well, who knows if this is going to happen, but right now, to my understanding, the New York Subliners team is going to be Clayster, Mac, Zuma, +1, and that +1 is either going to be Fero if they can get it to work, but it's very possible right now that the contract situation is kind of getting in the way, and Clayster's kind of thinking, you know, the league starts tomorrow, maybe let's just lock it in and just get Hydra on the team, because I imagine if Hydra has the option, which I'm sure he does, to play with Paris, which of course would be a great opportunity for him, but instead of that, to play with Clayster and play with the New York Subliners, that's like a no-brainer, right, in theory for Hydra if he does get that opportunity. Difficult for Paris though, right? Like you've been following this amateur guy for a couple of seasons, I imagine, especially some of the staff over there, I'm sure, and then all of a sudden, when you finally get the opportunity to get him, Clayster comes in and then poaches him from right under your grasp and takes him to New York. That is not out of the question right now, and as you can see right here, this was his performances last season on this Train Hard Esports squad, and the European amateur scene was like super competitive last season, so these results don't necessarily add up to exactly the talent that this guy brings to the table, but he was playing with Brezzy for a time. I mean, Whalers was on this team, Doreel, as we said, as a coach, and they came second in quite a few of these, had definitely some decent results, and Hydra was pretty much the shining star of this team, even given you've got a guy like Brezzy on this team, who is very solid as well throughout the Black Ops 4 season, and of course was picked up onto Paris Legion as a result since they released. So I'm intrigued to hear your thoughts down in the comment section below. Who do you think these guys should pick up if it is between one of the two of Fero and Hydra, as I understand it right now? I think Fero is a more like solidified talent. If you get him on the team, you're going to have no issues at all. I think Hydra can do the sniping as well, so that's certainly a possibility in a similar really role to what Fero can play. I'm really excited to see Hydra in the league wherever he ends up, but it's probably a less risky pickup to go with Fero that you know can win world championships on a higher level. But if Clayster wants to take a risk and go for something which is, well, higher risk but potentially higher reward, Hydra could be a great option as well, and is probably less uncertain given the contract situation that is going on right now at the Florida Mutineers. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you are new, like if you enjoyed the video. As always, I'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.